So the new FX30 has been released and it looks like a phenomenal camera. It's so affordable. It's gonna get so many people into video shooting, and honestly, good on you, Sony, for making such an affordable, jam-packed with features cinema camera. But in today's video, I'm gonna go over why I'm deciding to just stick with the A7IV instead of selling it to get to the FX30. And in no way am I crapping on the FX30. I just want to share my reasons for keeping the A7IV, because I could very easily sell this camera and get the FX30, but there's a few things I saw that made me want to just stick with the A7IV, and the A7IV does everything I need it to do, so there's not really a reason for me to sell it. But I'll just share some reasons, so maybe that may help you decide whether you should stick with your A7IV or go with the new FX30. The first reason being full frame. I prefer to just have a full frame camera. I know a lot of cinema cameras are APS-C cameras, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with those. I just prefer full frame for a myriad of different reasons, but first of all, APS-C, cropping in. I'd rather just look at a lens, put it on, and know exactly what I'm gonna get. It's not a big deal if you're used to APS-C cameras. Obviously, that's just probably, second nature to you guys. But yeah, I just prefer the full frame look. The second reason I prefer the A7IV is you get a little bit better dynamic range. I know it's probably not like a crazy amount more, but you do get a little bit better of dynamic range. And I find I prefer, a tad bit more dynamic range than something like 4K 120 that I'm gonna hardly use. The third reason I prefer the A7IV over the FX30 is because you're gonna get better low light because of that full frame sensor. I saw some test footage of the FX30 and I noticed a lot of grain. And personally, I didn't really like the look of that. It just kind of looked amateur. Not to say you can't get great shots with the FX30, but you're gonna need, proper lighting. With the A7IV, I feel like you can get away with a lot more low light in your shot, and you're not gonna see as much grain. It was actually quite drastic. I saw a comparison with this camera and the FX30, and the A7IV looked really clean, where the FX30, you didn't even really have to zoom in, and you could see it on YouTube's compression. So it just seemed like the noise was pretty bad. And maybe that's just how all APS-C cameras are. Maybe I'm just used to full frame, I'm not sure. That's probably one of the major things that made me stick with the A7IV. The fourth reason I'm sticking with the A7IV is, well, you get a blurrier background because it's a full frame sensor. So if you have a 1.8 lens, it's gonna give you a nice blurry background. Whereas if you're using a 1.8 lens on an APS-C camera, I don't know the exact math, but you're probably getting something more like f2.8 or maybe f4, I'm not exactly sure, don't quote me on that. So I do prefer a bit blurrier of a background. The fifth reason, which I think I kind of mentioned before, was the A7IV just has all the features I already need. And plus it has a better photo camera on it as well. So if I wanna go take some photos, it's kind of a no-brainer. I'm gonna want the A7IV. But for video features, I mostly shoot 24 frames per second in 4K, which this has in full frame, so it's perfect. And when I am shooting 60 frames, I'm usually always shooting slow-mo, which I'm always punched in. And it kind of works out for me because I have a 20mm lens, so when I do go to 60 frames, it crops into like a 30mm, and that's perfect for like B-roll shots and those slow-mo shots. The sixth reason I decided to stick with the A7IV is I don't think it's healthy to just get gear and sell gear and get gear and sell gear. I think you just get into this endless gear, what's it called? Gas? Nobody wants gas. I think you get more obsessed with just getting the newest and the latest gear that you don't actually go out and create stuff. And I just think it's not a healthy cycle to get into. So if you have a good camera that shoots, full frame 4K or APS-C, 4K, like what more do you need? I mean, I guess there's like that niche market that needs a particular thing, but I think most of us don't need 4K 120 that has an air conditioning with it that unlocks your car if you lose your keys. I think a lot of that stuff is like, it's great to have, but it costs more money. And do you really need those features? I don't know. For me personally, no, I don't need them. So those are my reasons for keeping the A7IV. Yes, the FX30 is a phenomenal camera, and hey, if you want to get it, if it's going to meet all your needs, then get it. I would just be careful with getting sucked into that gear, the gas. We don't want the gas. Nobody wants the gas, all right? Stay away from the gas. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. We're getting up to 2,000 subscribers, so super stoked for that. And if you liked the video, hit that like button, do all the YouTube things. Helps out tremendously. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.